Okay. Sorry. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the special call meeting of the Metro Arts Board of Commissioners to order. It is 1:01. I'd like to get started on time to respect your times because this is, we are going into a holiday weekend, and also this was not originally on our calendars. If you recall from our last meeting, this meeting is called because we did have some unfinished business that we needed to vote on. We ended up losing quorum last week, and we do have quorum this week, so we can go ahead and make some decisions and some action items. One reason that I called this meeting is because on May the 30th, we will essentially have two people doing the same role. And we need to figure out how we address that because we can't have that. And so we are going to, that was the reason that I would call this meeting. And so we will follow the agenda as printed and as posted on our website. But first, I would like to turn it over to, I don't see Vivian here. So we can do public comment. We have some public comment.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. No, we're good.
We just have one for public comment.
Okay, yes. Oh, yes. Let me find, I'll,
Yeah.
are you going to do the, okay, perfect. Okay. Lydia, come on, yeah. Oh, all right. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
I want to address language about Thrive and local artists. In an email sent to this body with extremely misogynistic language from a white commissioner, Neflin wrote, "Your solutions addressing me are selfish and short-sighted. It's interesting that Thrive recipients, significantly more BIPOC than general operating, are characterized as selfish. But the symphony going bankrupt multiple times and demanding taxpayer money is not. Or TPAC getting $200 million from the state last year and then demanding their full six-figure sum from Metro Arts is not selfish. Or that the opera crying over a decrease in funds is not selfish. But when I asked for $20,000 to fund 4 different projects and 6 different artists total, the most Metro Arts has ever funded the Arabic-speaking community. And when I myself have not had the energy to practice my own art, I am a selfish person. Neflin, you should be ashamed of yourself, and this commission should be ashamed that no one reached out after seeing such violent language from a white commissioner who was out of line. His logic is like Republicans who disparage welfare moms as sucking up government money and being lazy and no good, but never have such intellects thought to analyze why Walmart is a top employer with employees on food stamps, because it is not due to any fault of the Walmart employees who are not lazy, but rather the depravity of Walmart management, which actively chooses not to pay a living wage and leads to this dependency on public funds to subsidize wages. Walmart calls it a business model when it's an exploitation of public funds. Corporate greed, in other words, is not selfishness, according to people like Neflin. It's a bona fide business model. And according to people like Neflin, calling that out and exposing it is the problem. I should have let the symphony and the opera and their government allies steal my people's hard-earned taxes. Apparently, I'm the difficult one. The more y'all allow violent language on this commission, the more harm you will commit as a commission.
Thank you. And that was the last public comment. Okay. And so I do want to acknowledge we did receive an email from Ms. Janine Cristiano. All the commissioners received that. I do want to acknowledge that because she did email that, email her comment to us. So the next thing on the agenda is our staff and communications update. And so we do, again, need to address Director Scene's employment status and also the interim director update. And right now, because there's a lot has been going on, there's been a lot of conversation about how we address this, what we do. And I do want to, we do have Director Dietz here today, and I would love to turn it over to him just to give us a little background on where we are, how we got here, and just any updates that you have for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Commissioners. You may recall from prior correspondence from Attorney Jamie Holland, who represents Director Singh, that Mr. Holland and I had settlement negotiations 2 to 3 months ago that did not result in a settlement. I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but we were not able to come to agreement. Over the weekend, Mr. Holland reached out to me and asked to meet as soon as possible. We met on Monday night, and he said he wanted to see if there was a way to navigate to a resolution of this situation that did not result in a meeting today with Director Singh being terminated. He understood that was a possibility. And so I said, okay, so are you talking about a resignation? He goes, yes. And I said, well, what is your demand? And we started entering into negotiations over the dollar amount, which continued throughout the week until late last night when we reached an agreement. And the agreement is this. Director Singh will resign his position as executive director of the Arts Commission. The Metropolitan government will pay him a lump sum of $200,000, which will come from the allocated funds that the Director of Finance has given to the Law Department to administer payment of claims, including the second round of funding for artists. In exchange for that, Director Singh will execute a document that has a full release of all claims, and he will agree to dismiss his complaint that he filed a few months ago with the Tennessee Human Rights Commission. So this is a walk-away settlement on both sides. Director Singh will leave. I insisted that any agreement we reach be made subject to the approval of this commission. So it's up to you to agree to approve these concepts or not. The rest of the settlement agreement that I've drafted, it was done too quickly to get it on the agenda and in front of you. I've outlined the terms, but there will be a formal written settlement agreement. We just got that signed a few minutes before coming in here. So he has signed it. It is subject to two things: the approval of this Arts Commission and the approval of the Metropolitan Council. And if you approve, we will put this in front of the council at their next meeting on June the 4th. Under the terms of the agreement, Director Singh will submit a written letter of resignation within 2 days of the approval by the Metro Council, which is June the 6th. So if you decide to entertain this with a motion and approve the structure of this agreement and the material terms, then I will have another housekeeping matter that I will ask you to consider. But first, I will ask you to consider approving these settlement terms. And I'm happy to answer all questions.
All right. Thank you, Director Dietz, and thank you for, I was writing some dates down, just some timeline, so thank you for outlining the timeline of how all of this worked, and then also answering another question I was going to have with where was the money going to come from. It was going to come from a separate account that's not in the arts budget.
It will not come out of your budget, no.
Okay. And then, okay, thank you. And well, one other question I have before I open it up to the other commissioners is, once this is settled, if this is settled in the will of the commission, all of the outside counsel that had been hired, would they no longer be hired? Because I do know that's been a subject of conversation about all of the outside counsel that we've had to hire. And so what will happen with that if this is signed?
Well, one engagement has already come to an end, which is Tim Garrett, because he's no longer needed on the FMLA. The reason the other attorneys are involved is because of the complaint filed in front of the Metro Human Relations Commission. We are in discussions with them. if that complaint goes forward, we will need those attorneys. And both you and the law department will need to have representation in that. It would be likely that some of you may be called as witnesses in that. I don't know what their process will be, but we are we would love to whittle it down.
Thank you. I asked that. I wanted to make sure that was on the record because we do get a lot of questions about that, and it even came up last night in our budget hearing. And so I just wanted to have, since you are here, to just be able to just address that. So thank you so much for that. Are there any questions? Do I see any hands from any of the commissioners? Oh, Commissioner Jester.
I have two questions. The first one is I just wanted to clarify, was it Councilor Holland that came to us specifically or came to you?
Yes, Commissioner. I had no discussions with him. He had written correspondence to the Arts Commission, to all of you. I responded to that, but he and I had not had any discussions about this matter since those negotiations fell apart back in the winter.
Okay.
He approached me over the weekend.
I guess it's not possible to have a sense of what the Metro Council might do, but is it also true that if we decide to approve this, make a motion to approve this, that we would need to extend administrative leave out through at least June 4?
Thank you. That was the housekeeping matter I said I wanted to address if you do agree to these settlement terms, because I would suggest you do this by separate motion, but move to keep Director Singh on administrative leave with pay through June 6th. Under the terms of the settlement agreement, he has 2 days after council approval to submit his letter of resignation. I discussed this idea with Mr. Holland just a few minutes ago, and he agreed to that suggestion. So if this commission approves the settlement terms, then I would suggest a second motion to keep him on leave through June 6th would be appropriate.
And what happens if the council decides not to approve this?
There is no deal.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, you have heard from legal. I would entertain a motion to accept the terms of the resignation agreement with Director Singh. If anyone would like to make a motion, or yes,
I
Commissioner.
so move that we accept the resignation and the settlement agreement from Director Singh, as outlined by Director Dietz.
Second.
Second.
Got more second.
That was moved by Commissioner Nefflin and seconded by Commissioner Jester, just for our minutes. Is there any discussion? You can call the roll on this because important it is.
Commissioner Dupree-Love,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurtz,
Yes.
Commissioner Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Harding,
Yes.
Commissioner Jester,
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Nefflin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wade,
Yes.
Commissioner Watts,
Yes.
and Commissioner West.
Yes.
Set 9 ayes. Okay. So the motion carries unanimously. So thank you for that. And so next I'll entertain a motion to extend Director Singh's admin leave until June the 8th. With pay.
I so moved.
Second.
That was moved by Commissioner Lefkowitz and seconded by Commissioner Watts. Is there any discussion?
I think the only thing I would say is that if we end up in a position where the council chooses to not vote for this, we need to think about what we're going to do as a body.
Absolutely. We will watch closely on June the 6th. All right. 4th, yes. 4th, yes. Vivian, call the roll.
Okay. Commissioner Dupree-Love,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurtz,
Yes.
Commissioner Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Harden,
Yes.
Commissioner Jester,
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Neflin, sorry,
Yes.
Commissioner Wade,
Yes.
Commissioner Watts,
Yes.
and Commissioner West.
Yes.
Thank you. We have 9 ayes, so that motion carries as well.
10 ayes.
10 ayes, forgive me. The motion carries unanimously as well, so thank you for that. Thank you, Director Dietz. Was there anything else you had for us or wanted to bring before us today?
Thank you. That's all I had. I appreciate everyone's attention.
All right. Thank you so much. And so we have essentially exhausted what we were going to discuss in items 1 and 2 under staff communications and update. And so the next thing on the agenda is the quorum update. I know we had a lot of, Commissioner McCoy, you have a question?
The interim director's update?
Yeah, so that was going to be how we were going to address how our interim director was going to be extended, or we've exhausted that because we don't have to deal with that anymore because, yeah.
Could I ask one thing, though, and that is, for the purpose of the record, would you introduce her and tell us a little bit about her?
Well, we did that at the last meeting.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh,
That's
you
right.
did? That's all right. That's all right. And so I'll say when we get down to new and old business, I was going to turn it over to her, but thank you for that. All right. So back to, two of the reasons that we called this meeting, or I called this meeting, is to address our director's position and also the quorum question because it was going to come up again. And so, as I said in the last meeting, whenever you see a bylaw or a law or something has happened for that to have been changed or updated or for that to be in the law. And so, or your bylaws. And so we received, and so I thank you, Attorney Ortiz Mars, for sending the memo that would address the question of what is considered quorum for the Metropolitan Nashville Arts Commission. And so I thank you for it. And so just your brief answer, and I'm not going to go over the analysis. The brief answer is that quorum for the Metro Nashville Arts Commission is 8 commissioners, regardless of how many members of the commission are seated. And so did you want to discuss that, or just I'll turn over to you? Yeah.
We are more than more than happy to answer any questions that the commissioners might have regarding the memo or any more specificity that the commission might need.
And I can talk briefly about that. Macy Amos, I was not present at your last meeting, but I understand the issue of quorum came up, and it is very confusing. So the bylaws say one thing, that say a majority of the members of the commission. In the bylaws, though, they refer to the Metro Charter, and the Charter discusses charter-created boards and commissions, which, as we all know, the Arts Commission is not a charter-created board or commission, but because the bylaws refer to this specific section of the Charter, we think that the intent was to adopt this specific section that talks about a majority of the membership of the body shall constitute a quorum for the purpose of meeting and transacting business. A majority of 15 is 8. That's a conservative approach, but we think it's the best approach, and especially when you're voting on really important matters. So we think that you should go with the number 8. We feel confident in that answer. And if you do have specific questions, or if you digest this memo and have additional questions, feel free to ping me or Tessa, and we'll answer those for you.
I thank you for that. And our bylaws do address when there is ambiguity and how you address that. And so the plain meaning of the language, and this is how the analysis that you gave is the plain meaning of that. And so, and you did give some suggestions on what we should do if we want to clear that up. And so I have been working with Vivian on getting an executive committee meeting scheduled. And so this is something that will be brought before the next executive committee meeting. And then we'll bring that back to the commission, because there are a couple of things in our bylaws that we do need to update. And so with any organization, you should be constantly reviewing your bylaws to make sure that it still works and it's still clear. And so that's something that we cannot do today, just because our bylaws say that it would have to be, of course, previously noticed, but also 5 days before any change would be presented, we would have to get that to the commission. And so once we get our next executive commission meeting scheduled, that will be what's on our agenda, and then we can bring some of those changes to the commission just in case there's something else that needs to be updated and changed, and we can do all of that at the same time. Are there any questions? All right, I will go down to new and old business, and I do want to turn it over to our interim director, Dr. Coleman. Thank you for the email that you sent us this morning. I hope that we can start receiving weekly emails about things that's going on with the arts department. And so if you want to just reiterate a little bit what you sent us this morning, or just anything else that you would love for us to know. And for Commissioner McCoy's benefit, just do another introduction of yourself, who you are, because there are some people who are watching who may not know who you are. And so again, thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paulette Coleman. I have lived in Nashville since 1993. I came here as I had been elected in my denomination, which is the African Methodist Episcopal Church, as a general officer, and I was the editor and publisher of the AME Church Review, which is the oldest continuously published scholarly journal among African Americans. It was started in 1884 by the father of renowned painter Henry O. Tanner. His father was a bishop in our denomination. I am trained as an urban planner. I went to undergraduate school at Fordham, the Jesuit University of New York, and then I went to graduate school at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where I got my PhD in urban planning. I've lived in 9 states and 2 foreign countries, but I am not a fugitive, and I don't have a criminal record. I have worked primarily as a nonprofit executive leader. I have also worked as a religious publisher and editor, and I have more than 20 years of adjunct university teaching, ranging from the University of Texas at Austin to Shaw University Without Walls, and even Trevecca Nazarene and Tennessee State University. I think, as I told, in my 7 days, this is my 7th day here, and I have seen a lot of Commissioner Jester and Commissioner Lefkowitz. Last Thursday, we had a commission meeting. We had a staff meeting on Tuesday. The Monday, we had a briefing from the finance department in preparation for our budget hearing. We have also had a care committee meeting and some other meetings as well. We have been at Metro Council meetings and the special committee headed by Council Lady Stiles on arts and libraries. I've forgotten the real name. And then we did our budget presentation last night with the assistance of Amanda Deaton Moyer, okay, from finance. We have a staff that is enthusiastic. One of our challenges is that our office space is not conducive to everyone being present at the same time. I'm a big proponent of building community among people who work, and that's more easily done when people are present together than not. We are working on how we can best enhance what we do and how we do it. They're very open and receptive. I applaud them for the work they've been able to continue through their own initiative and creativity. And as I shared with them, because we are a small agency, we have the opportunity to experiment, because if it doesn't work, not a lot is disrupted when you've got 15 people. And so we can be a model of excellence in Arts Commission, and we're working toward that goal, and in the operation of commissions of all sizes within our metro government. It is my distinct honor to work with you and to serve you and to the citizens of Nashville, and I will do everything in my power to make sure we get on a right path so that whoever is the next director will have things like our high priorities, closing out FY24 grants, also getting communication to the grant recipients and those who are still pending, where we are, examining our FY24 guidelines. I do not want to build another grant cycle on guidelines that we know need revision and re-examination. So that is another high priority. Sydney Davis, who is with that area, has reached out to peer cities, particularly Austin. I've also reached out to Americans for the Arts. They haven't responded. I also reached out to the Government Alliance for Racial Equity. They reached out immediately, but because we are not a member, they could not go much further, and we're going to examine whether or not that's worth our while. So those are the two things that we want to do. And then the third thing is just strengthening our own organizational infrastructure. I don't have a clear understanding of where things are at this moment, and we're just going to move forward and get it right so that we can be a model of excellence and transparency and all of those other good things that we expect of our local government. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Are there any questions for our interim director? Well, I'm just happy you're here.
Thank you.
I am. It is refreshing just to have someone here that can continue the work that we do, because it is important. We are small, but we do have an important work, and so I appreciate you coming in and stepping in this time. So thank you so much.
Chair Love, I want to echo
yes.
what you just said. I am really glad, Dr. Coleman, that you're here.
Thank you so much. And so the next meeting that we do have a grants committee meeting on May the 30th, and then we also have our regularly scheduled commission meeting on July the 18th. And so I do not have anything else before the commission. Is there any other questions or announcements? Yes, Commissioner West.
I think it's just a question. It would fall under new business and maybe for Director Dietz. Moving forward in the process of the search for the new executive director, can you I was part of that last time, but for the new commissioners, can you kind of walk us through what that would look like? And maybe in our July commission meeting, we could have an HR representative come forward. Oh, hey, Shannon. So we worked together last time, and so with the new commission, I thought it might behoove us to kind of walk through what that looks like. So
I would ask Director Hall to address that. She is the expert, and she will be the one guiding you through that, if that's okay.
Thank you, Director Hall.
Of course. And as Commissioner West mentioned, I would come back when we're ready to start this process to go through what I'm going to generally outline for you, but I can generally answer these questions. We have a lot of executive recruitments that we do. We haven't had as many, but we are on a string of them right now. So as part of the executive recruitment process, we would work with you all as the commission to help refine and put together a job posting and a timeline that's going to outline our efforts. Executive recruitments typically take about 3 to 4 months. A lot of this will be collaborative with you all as a commission, but we do a lot of the heavy lifting here in HR. So we will make sure that we are working with you guys to determine the best ways and places to do outreach in order to make sure we are getting those highly qualified candidates to apply. We will bring the job posting that is commensurate with the job functions and duties and work with you guys on that. Put that together. That'll be approved, again, all in a public meeting with you guys. We make sure we have good ways of making sure we collaborate both individually and collectively with you, making sure that we honor the state law and open meetings. So we will bring the job posting, the timeline. Those will be in a big public meeting with the whole commission. During that commission meeting, we will likely prompt you, as you will see in your timeline, there'll be different aspects. For example, as candidates apply, we want to have a robust set of supplemental questions that we will give as kind of a written first interview that really are meant to be really deep dive insight into the candidates beyond what you just see on their resume and application, that give you a real sense of the capabilities and the fit. You would help us shape and give us input on what we would be asking. We'll have a bank of general questions that we'll kind of propose to you, but you guys will be able to help shape and craft those. We'll use those with the supplement of the resumes to kind of determine who we think we need to narrow for like a first panel interview. That would be typically with internal and external stakeholders, but something that's usually a little bit more narrowed, maybe 4 to 5 individuals on an interview panel. I typically would ask one of the commission members to participate on that. I would also have a probably different commission member participate in helping to look as we're qualifying candidates on who is highly qualified, well qualified, minimally qualified, or disqualified based on the minimum qualifications that you approve as part of your job posting. So I usually will have you guys determine in a public meeting who those people will be so that it's fully transparent. But involve several of you as you guys determine as a commission individually throughout our process. Once we narrow to finalist, we will bring those back to a public commission meeting, and then you guys will be doing your interviews in the public commission meeting. This is the same kind of standard process we'd use for all of our Metro boards and commissions that we support executive recruitments for. And then from there, I would then help facilitate the offer on the commission's behalf, commensurate within the pay range and budgeted amount you have for that position. I did that process with Director Singh, so I played that role with the prior chair and vice chair as well. So that's generally the process, and then facilitate all the fun stuff like if there needs to be a relocation, how that process would work, negotiate a start date, and then help for a successful transition if there's a change in leadership. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Director Hall. I would encourage through the last round for everyone to be involved. Supplemental questions are really important, thinking about outreach throughout the nation. So any help I can be, I'm happy to be of service.
Commissioner Love, may I ask a question or two? I have 3 things that I'm curious about. What involvement will our interim director have in this selection process? I think her background in nonprofits and her ability as an administrator are crucial, because administration and procedure are, I think, essential.
I think it will depend on whether or not she is a candidate or not.
Oh, well, that's true too.
So I will make sure we will have complete transparency and protection and integrity throughout the process. So
okay. These questions are in the off chance that Director Coleman is not a candidate. Mm-hmm. So if she's not a candidate, I would certainly want her participating in the selection and evaluation of other candidates. If she is a candidate, then of course she wouldn't be involved in that. But the other is, who is responsible for due diligence with regards to the background that is furnished to you?
So we utilize a background search firm, so they would go through the same background process that we do traditionally for any Metro employee and executive. So there would be credit checks, there would be background checks, and those are handled by our vendor, which is Inquiries.
And when I say that, who calls up the prior employer and finds out what the job performance was at the last job and the job before that? Is this what this group does?
So we can't, not that part. Checking of references versus a background check, I could see why. I mean, generally speaking, you're kind of checking on both, but reference checks are different than a background check. So my first answer is regarding the background check. That is handled by a third-party vendor. Reference checks could be either something that we perform on the commission's behalf, or we could work with another commission member to help coordinate that effort directly with our staff.
One of the things that I was unaware of is the nature of new hires, particularly with regards to the staff, that they were considered probationary for a certain period of time. And given my experience, I think it's of interest as to whether or not the executive director also is subject to a probationary period.
May I clarify? So the positions within the Arts Commission, so the executive director is a little bit different than the full-time staff members.
And where do you find this information?
Metro Charter.
Okay.
But I can give you the answer too. But yes, it is rooted in law. Everything we're doing is mostly rooted in law. So the Metro Charter clarifies what positions are civil service and what positions are non-civil service. In the charter section, the full-time employments positions that are in the arts department that are not the executive director are considered civil service and subject to civil service provisions, including the civil service rules and civil service policies. Those are all available on the Nashville.gov website under Metro HR. They are so important that they are in the bottom of every single one of our HR pages in the quick links section. So a lot of these provisions are not only outlined, civil service provisions that I'm talking about, outlined in the charter, but the really deep dive on probationary periods, et cetera, is outlined in the civil service rules and policies. The executive director and the executive director of any Metro Board or Commission, unless otherwise outlined, are non-civil service. So I would say that whomever is in the executive director position for the Arts Commission is at any time at will under the state of Tennessee. So arguably they're always on probation, I guess. You have the right.
I understand that, Will. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Director Hall. Are there any other questions for her while she's before us?
Are we back?
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Do we have any other announcements or any updates before we entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'm not catching a plane.
All right. Were you making a motion? Are we?
I just have an update for folks.
Okay, good.
Commissioner Jester and I are working on the conciliation issue as it relates to the Metro Human Relations Commission Title VI complaint. We had our first meeting on Wednesday for about 2 hours. We met with representatives from the Human Relations Commission, the Metro Department of Law, and the Metro Department of Finance, in addition to individuals who filed the Title VI complaint. Everything that we are doing at this point is confidential, and we all signed an agreement that said we would not, but I wanted to let this body know that conciliation has been started and is continuing, and conversations will continue at our next meeting.
All right, thank you for that update. Yes, Commissioner West.
One update, Public Art will be having a few unveilings coming up before we meet again, so please check your emails for confirmation of dates for both Donaldson and the fairgrounds. So just wanted to put that in everybody's ear.
There's one other public art, June 10th at the Luby Center, Creative Girls Rock. It's more of a panel, but there is art associated with it, so thank you.
In any events, I will just send out an invite. You don't have to accept it. You can accept it just what's on your calendar. I'm not going to count you, if you do accept it. So just so you all know.
All right. Thank you, Vivian. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Second. All those in favor? Aye. All right. We're out of here. Thank y'all so much.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.